So yeah, we got people now, today, in New York, throwing bottles at cops, and there's a fucking riot going on over there. And the shit's falling apart everywhere, all over the country. You got these messes going on. In the meantime, we put 2 guys up into space today in a Tesla rocket ship. It's crazy shit going on. We're in there's a global pandemic going, which is, that's another story altogether. That's I would say that's 25% pandemic, 75% media hype. But at any rate, here's somebody who had it right years ago. This is like, I think this it was like 30 years ago or something like that. I don't know. It's crazy. But Carlin, he was a visionary. Now, it leads me to something that I've always something that I had come to realize at one point earlier in life, which is that if you could walk around the streets and talk truth all day long. I do it. I've been doing it for 30 years myself. And nobody's going to care because you don't have a bully pulpit, right? But when you get a bully pulpit, you stand up on stage. If you're a politician or a high level, personality, you got to be careful what you say, right? Unless the answer and something that's going to be disseminated to the masses through television or movies or whatever. The only way you were able to get away with that historically was if you were a comedian, because anything you say could always be dismissed as comedy, right? Oh yeah, that crazy comedian. What are you going to listen to him? He's crazy. Or science fiction was another one, right? Science fiction, like the Twilight Zone, like Star Trek, and Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and the likes of this kind of, these were intelligent minds that were able to create movies, have more than an ounce of truth intertwined into the movie, but because the movie was headed up under science fiction, it was able to be disseminated smoothly. Same thing with comedy. So here's a comedian, quote unquote comedian, George Carlin, right? Now you tell me if this guy didn't have it. You tell me if he didn't have it right on the button.
It's just one more way of reducing your liberty and reminding you that they can fuck with you anytime they want. As long as you put up
Sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? Oh yeah. Okay.
with it. As long as you put up with it.
As long as you put up with it.
Which means, of course, anytime they want. Because that's what Americans do now. They're always willing to trade away a little of their freedom in exchange for the feeling, the illusion of security. What we have now is a completely neurotic population obsessed with security and safety and crime and drugs and cleanliness and hygiene and germs.
Oh.
There's another thing. Germs. Where did this sudden fear of germs come from? In this country. Have you noticed this? The media constantly running stories about all the latest infections, salmonella, E. coli, hantavirus, bird flu, and Americans they panic easily, so now everybody's running around scrubbing this and spraying that and overcooking their food and repeatedly washing their hands, trying to avoid all contact with
fear through tyranny, in other words. Fear through tyranny. It's always been known that that's the way the communist takeover would look, that's how it's going to look, fresh out of the Saul Alinsky playbook.
Germs. It's ridiculous, and it goes to ridiculous lengths. In prisons, before they give you a lethal injection, they swab your arm with alcohol. It's true. It's true. It's true. Well, they don't want you to get an infection. And you can see their point. Wouldn't want some guy to go to hell and be sick. It would take a lot of the sportsmanship out of the whole execution. Fear of germs. Why, these fucking pussies. You can't even get a decent hamburger anymore. They cook the shit out of everything now because everybody's afraid of food poisoning. Hey, where's your sense of adventure? Take a fucking chance, will you? You know how many people die in this country from food poisoning every year? 9,000. That's all. It's a minor risk. Take a fucking chance, bunch of goddamn pussies. Besides...
Which does sound like a minor amount, right? Considering what we're looking at now, right? So, crazy.
What do you think you have an immune system for? It's for killing germs.
Right.
But it needs practice. It needs germs to practice on.
I've always said that.
So listen.
And it turns out I was right. I figured that out once I started reading
all the germs around you and live a completely
all the information
life, and when germs do come along, you're not going to be prepared.
Right. That's basically what all the epidemiologists are saying right now. You know, it's common knowledge to them, right? I conceived that on my own when I was very young. You know, so for example, every time I would come down, you know, what happens when you realize you're coming down with something, you know it, right? You know, oh shit, I'm getting something, I'm getting sick here. But I've conditioned myself that whenever it happens, I say, oh, good, because I know that now my immune system is going to get to go through through the run, which in my opinion, or in my previous opinion, which continues to be my opinion, it requires that in order to keep itself up to par, you know, and that's what he's saying right now. He's right, you know, it's comedy, but it's true.
And never mind ordinary germs. What are you going to do when some super virus comes along that turns your vital organs into liquid shit? I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to get sick, you're going to die, and you're going to deserve it because you're fucking weak and you got a fucking weak immune system. Now,
just a couple of hours ago, I put 3 beets, about 10 carrots, and 4 apples through the juice machine. Made myself about a quart of liquid vegetable juice. God, it's so good. I can't even begin to tell you. I love it. I can't live without that stuff. And then, in the catch bin, I took all of the fibrous pulp from those vegetables. I put it in a big pot with 2 cans of whole tomato sauce, and I cooked up. I just had pasta. Where's my bowl? It's over here somewhere. And I just had pasta with that sauce. I tell you, I might not even be able to sleep tonight because the energy that you get from a diet that's high in vegetables. Well, I'm on a plant-based diet entirely. I'm 100% plant-based at this point, but I got to tell you, I mean, it's an energy. It's the gift that never stops giving. You know, it really is. I strongly advise it.
All right. Let me tell you a true story about immunization, okay? When I was a little boy in New York City in the 1940s, we swam in the Hudson River, and it was filled with raw sewage, okay? We swam in raw sewage, you know, to cool off. And at that time, the big fear was polio. Thousands of kids died from polio every year. But you know something? In my neighborhood, no one ever got polio. No one, ever. You know why? Because we swam in raw sewage.
And the whole polio thing turned out to be a big crock of shit, too, according to an epidemiologist. What's her name? Judy Maskowitz or something. She's out there viral on the internet right now. They keep taking her videos down. She was the one that worked with Fauci. And she has a whole thing she goes on about what happened with the polio. She says more people got polio from the vaccinations than would have gotten it anyway. So there was, but anyway, you know, good luck trying to sell that.
And our immune systems. The polio never had a prayer. We were tempered in raw shit.
Probably right.
So personally, I never take any special precautions against germs. I don't shy away from people who sneeze and cough. I don't wipe off the telephone. I don't cover the toilet seat. And if I drop food on the floor, I pick it up and eat it. I eat it. Yes, I do. Even if I'm at a sidewalk cafe in Calcutta, the poor section, on New Year's morning during a soccer riot. And you know something? In spite of all that so-called risky behavior, I never get infections. I don't get them. I don't get colds. I don't get flu. I don't get headaches. I don't get upset stomachs. And you know why? Because I got a good, strong immune system, and it gets a lot of practice. My immune system is equipped with the biological equivalent of fully automatic military assault rifles with night vision and laser scopes. And we have recently acquired phosphorus grenades, cluster bombs, and anti-personnel fragmentation mines. So, when my white blood cells are on patrol, reconnoitering my bloodstream, seeking out strangers and other undesirables, if they see any suspicious-looking germs of any kind, they don't fuck around. They whip out the weapons, they wax the motherfucker, and deposit the unlucky fellow directly into my colon. Into my colon. There's no nonsense. There's no Miranda warning. There's none of that 3 strikes and you're out shit. First defense, bam, into the colon.
So this is where he fills in between with comedy, keeping it comedy. You could imagine if he just went out with a microphone and stood there and spoke seriously to everybody. They would have ran him. They would have ran him off the stage years ago. They would have got rid of him a long time ago. But he went under the guise of a comedian, and that's why it probably scared the shit out of all of them. These fucking communists, who the ones that are in the process right now of trying to take over the United States, because the evidence is that this Saul Alinsky playbook has been in play for about 30, 40 years now. They've been trying to implement this strategy to take over the country, these fucking socialist, liberal, fucking communist pieces of shit. And, so, and the evidence is that as soon as Trump became they probably, that was probably in the playbook, by the way. They probably knew that, one day a Bullworth or a Ross Perot almost, he had his hand in the pot a little bit too, but they were able to smoke him out easy. But Trump was not getting smoked out, no way, no how. He knew what he was in for before he got into this mess. But prior to that, in the playbook, they were probably saying one of these days that Donald Trump is going to come along, and when he does, hopefully it won't be soon, but when it does, hopefully we'll be ready for him. And once that happens, then we're going all out, full blown war. It is communism versus the American free market capitalist system. That's what it's always been about. They wouldn't have said that 10 or 20 years ago. Mum was the word back then. They said, no, don't tell the voters what we're about. Not until we absolutely have to. If we don't have to, don't say a word. Trump was the trigger. He pulled the trigger, and now they had no choice but to just come out and say, we're socialist. Bernie Sanders, I'm a socialist Democrat. That's my platform. Vote for me. And what has he got? A shitload of stupid fucks who are going for it because it sounds good to them. They're like, oh yeah, I like the idea of my college tuition being paid and free health benefits and free. Everybody's going to give you, but who's going to pay for it, right? So, that's an old story, but this is what I'm putting it into some context here. And even a guy like George Carlin fits into the equation.
When you go. And speaking of my colon, I want you to know I don't automatically wash my hands every time I go to the bathroom, okay? Can you deal with that? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You know when I wash my hands? When I shit on them. That's the only time. And you know how often that happens? Tops, 2, 3 times a week. Tops. Maybe a little more frequently over the holidays, you know what I mean? And I'll tell you something else, my well-scrubbed friends. You don't always need a shower every day. Did you know that? It's overkill. Unless you work out or work outdoors, or for some reason come in intimate contact with huge amounts of filth and garbage every day, you don't always need a shower. All you really need to do is to wash the 4 key areas. Armpits, asshole, crotch, and teeth. Got that? Armpits, asshole, crotch, and teeth. In fact, you can save yourself a whole lot of time if you simply use the same brush on all 4 areas.
George Carlin. May he rest in peace. Very good comedian. Well, I guess that's it for this video. All right, until I get another big bright idea. And I hope you like the Bullworth thing too. I highly recommend the movie Bullworth. You got to see it from beginning to end. I did a clip before, and it was good. But you got to see the whole movie in context. It's a good cast too. Halle Berry's in it. And it just really makes you think. It's a great movie. Really, I'm surprised that but that was before all the shit hit the fan. That was back in the 90s. So. You're not going to see Hollywood produce a movie like that these days. No. They're too busy engaged in pedophilia or something. So, Anyway, or defending themselves from it. They're all running fucking scared with their tail between their legs right now because there's investigations out the wazoo. Plenty. And so I say, as I do many times per week, thank you, Donald Trump. Thank you, Donald Trump. Everybody should be thanking Donald Trump. I even got a Donald Trump. I'm even dressed like Trump today for the video. All right, everybody have a good one. Take it easy.